When I would have appointments with my endocrinologist, they would tell me like, "Why are your blood sugars always so high?" And I would just look at them straight in the face and be like, "I don't want to take my insulin. I don't want to take my shots. Maybe I didn't even want to continue to survive."
Welcome to Community Table, where we have real, unfiltered conversations about life with diabetes. I'm your host, Tiana Cooks, and today we're talking about identity, care, and what it is like to live as someone with diabetes in the LGBTQ community. First up, we've got Mason Prévost. Mason is a functional health coach and a former competitive athlete and a trans man living with type 1 diabetes since he was 11. Next up, we've got David Bella. David is a longtime public sector professional, a creative storyteller, and a proud gay man living with type 1 diabetes. How are you guys?
Very good, very good. How are you guys?
I'm pretty good. I feel good right now.
I'm so excited to get into the conversation today. I feel like this is one that literally is like rarely ever had, and it's Pride Month, so I'm super stoked to have both of you here to share your experiences with us. And let's just get into it. So I would love to hear from both of you guys. A, what it was like growing up with diabetes, and B, also figuring out who you were.
It was a ton to learn, especially as a kid, and like having parents who like they want the best for you, so they're kind of like hovering and kind of micromanaging, but you also want to be independent, right? So it was overwhelming, but also like kind of stressful because you don't want to see your parents kind of upset about it, and also stressed for like your health, and like there's a little bit of uncertainty in and around a new diagnosis, right? So I came out as gay when I was 14, so I was also pretty young, and it's because I was dating an older girl at the time. So I thought it was cool, like 14. It's like, okay, not realizing the extent of like, no, you're different. Like you can be bullied for this, and there is a stigma around it. But my family's super accepting. They were good about it, so I was really lucky on that front.
And David, what about you?
Yeah, for me, like I said, I was diagnosed at 8. At that time, I was already interested in boys. Right after the years of being diagnosed, I went through that weird teenage stage. So at the same time, I was trying to figure out type 1 diabetes. I was a very like rebellious teenager. I didn't want to take my medicine. I didn't want to learn about it. I felt like the more I was rebellious, the more it would just go away, right? And I felt like I was just angry, right? So when I would have appointments with my endocrinologist, they would tell me like, "Why are your blood sugars always so high?" And I would just look at them straight in the face and be like, "I don't want to take my insulin. I don't want to take my shots." Like, I think maybe at some point, I felt like maybe I didn't even want to continue to survive. And nothing to do with my medical team or the family that I did have. They did everything in their power to kind of get me in shape. It was more just like a me thing. I just would never take my insulin.
I'm not prepared. I'm like, I need some tissues.
No. Trying to, maneuver learning what type 1 diabetes is and trying to maneuver like what I was feeling inside was so difficult for me. Just like so many different feelings because at the same time I wasn't taking care of my health. And then the second time I just wanted to party and explore hooking up with boys. So it was a lot. It was a lot for any teenager to go through. It was just like two big bombshells that I had to conquer every day.
Yeah. So wait, how old were you when you came out to your family?
So my coming out story is a little bit more difficult. I was actually outed out. Unfortunately, my family wasn't supportive. I think after from that day, I probably lost about maybe 80% of my family, and I still don't have that. I still don't have that family support. So
I'm gonna cry. I'm so sorry. That
no.
makes me
Trust me.
sad.
It's crazy to see where my mental is now versus then. Like, in a way, I'm happy it happened to me because it made me such a strong person. I feel like I could conquer anything. Not only did I have to deal with this disease. At that time, I had to deal with getting backlash, getting called the worst names of the worst names by the people who I thought loved me the most, right? So it was a lot.
Mason, can you tell me about your transition and what that journey was like for you?
Yeah, honestly, my coming to of being trans was a lot more than my diabetes diagnosis or coming out as gay when I was younger. And I remember it was after my third bodybuilding show, I was sitting down with my therapist and I was like, I just feel like empty, like something is wrong. And but it was definitely more than that. So I remember sitting there with my therapist and I was like, I feel small, like I'm like being like shoved down into a small box, and like that's not how I live. Like I live like super out there, you know? And it's because getting to the gym, I'd always be harassed in the women's locker room. Because honestly, like if you knew me before, I don't look much different. I'm 6 foot tall, I'm jacked, I had short hair, I have small boobs. The only thing that's different now is that I have a beard. So I don't really like blame the women for thinking I was a guy in the women's locker room. Like I remember one time I got out of the shower, so I'm in my towel, and this girl's just going off at me, like trying to kick me out of the women's locker room. And I literally opened my towel and I'm like, what do you want? Like,
Oh,
where do you want me to go? I'm literally like naked in front of her and she's still going. She's like, you don't talk like a girl. You don't have hair like a girl. You don't dress like a girl. I'm like, what do you want? Like, I'm not lying here, you know, like I'm naked
Yeah.
in front of you. So I remember being like, I don't want to go to the gym. And every time I pulled up into the parking lot and the parking lot was busy, it gave me anxiety because a busy parking lot meant a busy locker room, and a busy locker room meant I would be getting harassed. So it's like going to the gym where it's like that's where I lived was not somewhere I wanted to go anymore. And my therapist just looked at me and she's like, damn, Mel, like that's heavy. You feel limited by your gender every single day. And I remember like my heart, my stomach, everything just sank when she looked at me and said that. And I started crying, obviously. So when I left that session, I was like, okay, I need to actually do some thinking and not like shove this like far back, right?
Right.
So then I went to my endo. When we started working together, it wasn't long before the transition, and he thought I was a guy right away. And it was the receptionist who told him, like, no, it's her. So literally the next appointment I had with him, I was like, no, like I want to start T. He's like, okay, you just told me no. I was like, I know, but like I've been thinking about it, working with a therapist, like that's what I want to do. So then he just started prescribing me testosterone. I took that, and then it's just the process of going through the surgeries, applying for that, applying for your name change and gender change. It's a long process. There's a lot of steps to it, but it's pretty simple. It looks overwhelming when it's like, oh my God, there's so much to do. And then coming out to my family, that one was big because like for a few days, I was just like up to here, like trying to hold back tears every day until I finally like got to see my siblings. And I saw them a few days before. So when I texted them like, oh, like I want to see you guys, they were like, hey, what's wrong? You know? My brother gets to my sister's. He's still in his jacket. He plops on the couch. He's like, you've asked me to talk 2 times in our life, like to talk like for a real, like serious thing, you know?
Yeah.
He's like, one, to tell us you're gay. So now what? You're a boy? And I'm just sitting there on the couch. And I'm like, yes. Like, I didn't even have to tell them. They knew. So they're like, why are you crying? I was like, I'm just so overwhelmed. Like, I'm not afraid that you guys won't accept me. I'm just like, it's so overwhelming, like to finally kind of realize who you are, you know? And then now it's like all the what ifs that I try not to play the what if game, because you could imagine like the worst case scenarios all the time and it might not be that bad. But yeah, I remember like that being an emotional time in my life. Definitely, there was like a lot to process, but only good has come of it.
Mason, I just want to say thank you for sharing. I personally haven't heard a lot of transition stories. So even though I've been part of the community since as long as I can remember, it's really good to hear, you know, a personal story because you're educating me too. So don't think just because I'm also part of our community that I know everything, because I don't. So I thank you for sharing. But I have a follow-up question, if that's okay. I just
Of
wanted to know
course.
if taking the testosterone, if that has any effects on your diabetes.
No, so great question. Everyone asks me that. So again, I was kind of like a middle ground where I was using anabolic steroids as a female for bodybuilding. So I had kind of some side effects of what you would see with testosterone before using it. And even with those drugs and the testosterone, I've seen no impact on my blood glucose itself. It's just, if anything, on times where like we're on cycle and we're taking more drugs, you're technically eating a lot more food, which will then play with your bloods a lot more. But then when I'm on prep and you're moving a lot more and you're not eating as much, my blood's like amazing. So the drug itself has no impact on my blood glucose, I found. If anything, it helps you put on more muscle. I mean, more muscle helps with insulin sensitivity. So I would say it helps, but I'm biased.
See, I'm so excited about this conversation. I love this. I think there's going to be people who watch and can relate and can learn from your experiences to better, set themselves up to talk to their providers or their family. And that makes me really happy. It is now time to take some calls from the community. These are questions, confessions, wild stories, and whatever is on people's minds about diabetes. So we have gathered a few questions on today's topic, and we would love to get your take.
What has been your experience in navigating your mental health, especially early in your diagnosis? And is there anything specific you do now to help you through those tougher days? When you're just over being bombarded with not only growing anti-LGBTQ sentiment, but also the day-to-day minutia of being a type 1 diabetic.
Wow.
Yeah, that one's huge.
Yeah, that's a loaded question. Definitely.
Yeah.
I think for me, what stood out in that question was when this person mentioned anti-LGBTQ plus, and I unfortunately am someone that is constantly always around people that are anti our community, and it's just because my family doesn't necessarily have that support or give me that support. So what I do to kind of overcome that or conquer that or just keep it pushing is I rely on those that do support me. And a lot of us in our community, we have what is called our chosen family. And I think that's what RuPaul calls it too. And I'm a big RuPaul fan. So I have my chosen family. I have found family in people that are not blood related. And I have been told by those that they love me and support me. So when I get called a bad name or when I'm told, I'm not going to go to the same place as them once, we're done with this on earth, I rely on that chosen family, and they never let me down. They're always there no matter what.
As we all know, living with any autoimmune disease increases the risk of mental health, right? And then also being part of the LGBTQ plus, right, is also tough because we're dealing with different stigmas, and like being trans and hearing everything that's going on in the States, it's like, is that going to impact us anywhere else, right? So there's a lot of what ifs, again, as we call it. So that's kind of tough. And outside of obviously having our own community and our chosen family, and is exercise and training. Like, we know that moving the body helps our mental health a lot. So like, I work as a coach, so I'll try and get a lot of my clients to first thing, like, wake up, don't touch your phone yet, get outside, go for a walk, enjoy some fresh air, get the sun in your eyes, and that does a lot for our mental health itself. So I always try and encourage a little bit of movement every day for people. So between the two, I think that could really help us.
Okay, so last question for both of you. If you could speak directly to healthcare providers, what do you want them to know about what it's like to be LGBTQ plus and live with diabetes?
Being type 1, being part of the LGBTQ plus community, there's so many challenges that we could face every day on the outside and on the inside, between everything that we're going through with our family, our personal life, our love life, our professional life, whatever you want to call it. There's a lot that we go through. So oftentimes when we do our blood labs, we feel judged by the numbers that are the results. And I would just try to have all healthcare providers understand that there's a larger picture that this individual could be going through, and that they may be trying to give their 100% in diabetes. So just having that patience and understanding that there's probably so many different layers that you're not seeing on the outside.
I want to ask one last question. If there's anybody watching this episode today, what is one piece of advice or encouragement that you might give to them if they have not yet come out? and or if they have not yet felt comfortable sharing about their diabetes?
Take steps towards the life you want to build for yourself instead of running away from the life that you don't want. And I think that mindset shift and just kind of rewording how you think about things in your brain really helps you have a direction and a purpose. And I think having direction and purpose really helps our mental state. So instead of, again, running away from things we don't want, just focus on the things that we do want and the steps we have to take to get there.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Community Table. Huge thank you to Mason and David for sharing their powerful stories. And big thank you to our partners, Eli Lilly and Dexcom, for making this conversation possible. If you need more help, visit the description below. We've linked mental health support, tips for finding inclusive care, and tools like getinsulin.org to help you find the insulin that you need. For more tips, tools, and real stories from the community, visit beyondtype1.org or follow us on socials at beyondtype1. And of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. I'm Tiana Cooks, and I'll catch you on the next one.